We haven't had a good open marriage regret post in a while, and this was posted just an hour ago. This is someone writing in asking questions like for some advice. So this person gave us pretty much the whole advice column. It's titled, "My wife finally agreed to make my biggest sex dream come true. Now it's become my nightmare." All right, so let's check this out. It says, "Dear How to Do It. For the longest time, my wife was staunchly against us visiting a sex club. Finally, for our 5th anniversary, she agreed after a years long campaign on my part. While we were there, I was with 2 different women, but my wife ended up being with 8 different guys over the course of the evening. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. Woo, that's a lot. Now she has us going back twice a week, and each time the guys can't get enough of her. I thought this would be a dream come true for me, but seeing her get effed by guy after guy has stirred some unexpected jealousy in me. I realize now this was a mistake, and I want to go back to the way things were, as I'm now seriously afraid she might leave me now that she's been to the promised land. When I suggested we take a break from the club scene, she said there was no way. How can I convince her that this needs to end? I've created a monster." Dear, I've created a monster. Your sign-off exposes the futility of your question. You can't uncreate a monster. I'm not calling your wife a monster. You did. This is a real be careful what you wish for moment. But then I have to wonder what you were actually wishing for. By one measure, your foray into the sex club frequenting has been a smashing success. Your wife took to it like a horny fish to a bunch of other horny fish. Did you think that she'd be more reserved or less popular? Did you ever envision how this could play out during your years-long campaign to get her in the club? Or did your fantasy end with you walking through the door? I feel for you though. You don't know what a situation will feel like until you're in it. Emotions can be tricky to predict. I think your wife has an obligation to hear you out, but at the same time, you can see her side, right? You got what you wanted and it went well, a little too well, and now you are where you are. She says there's no way she wants to take a break from the club. Have you tried compromise? Maybe she would agree to fewer visits, say 1 every 2 weeks instead of twice weekly. Maybe you do smaller groups at home or elsewhere so that the volume of bodies entering her is more emotionally manageable to you. Or she goes to the club alone so you don't have to watch, and that could be just her thing. I think you have some responsibility to maintain the openness that you've introduced into the relationship. It's about striking the right balance of how many peens, how many peens are the right balance. All right, it's about striking the right balance. The reason this is, as you write, you are afraid she's going to leave you now. If you take away the thing that she loves so much, she may feel that the only way she can get it is by leaving you, or depending on her ethics, by doing it anyway behind your back. If that is truly your fear, denying her is the biggest risk. Much better to work with her. Hopefully she's up for working with you too. I have no idea why they keep doing this. And each time these pop up, I'm going to read them. I don't care if it's fiction writing. I don't care if it's the same story. We're going to do it over and over and over. Because what tends to happen when you get into a relationship and our bodies change, relationships change, things change in a relationship as we get older. For whatever reason, they start to underestimate the desirability of the woman that they're with. And they think because she's not as desirable to you, the man, that she's not going to be desirable to those dudes out there. And they get it wrong each and every time. We see the exact same thing each and every time. But they still want to bust it wide open. And then she gets to bust it wide open multiple times. Ooh, maybe I shouldn't have done that. She gets to bust it wide open multiple times. And this is the same story because it's easier for a woman to get that type of thing. And if things have been stale or redundant or whatnot in the home, then she's getting some variety. And she's like, woo. And it's going to be hard to put that woo back into the lamp, the genie lamp or whatever, now that it's been opened, the Pandora's box or whatever. So you get what I mean. But they want to do that after, but like this person said, like the person answering the question, what did you expect? It was a swimming success. He got his fantasy and she didn't even know what she was missing. And now she's having some fun. These dudes better stop asking for this, though. Stop asking for an open marriage. Stop begging this whole years-long campaign. And when she does finally leave, he's going to be able to sit with the fact that he begged for his own divorce. This doesn't have that many comments. I will read a couple of them. And then y'all just keep on chiming in, because I know that this is what connects us. This is what makes us laugh. So go ahead and get your chuckles in. Here's the post. You can see that this is pretty much the whole copy and paste. So there's no real need to go to this unless you really want to. Hooked on Fandom says, imagine how irritating that must have been for the wife to be campaigned to, nagged at for over a year of saying no. And then when she's finally worn down enough to give it a try and likes it, he's pissed off in the other direction that she won't close the relationship back up. The first part would be more than enough to put the marriage on thin ice. The second might break it whether they close it or not. Puzzle-headed Bar says, I have heard this in therapy as a psychologist a number of times. The husband wants to swing and begins a campaign to convince his wife this is a great idea. To shut him up, she agrees to go. She ends up having the most amazing sex of her life, and then the husband is devastated. The husband wants the wife to have fun, but not that much fun. It has to be a balance. And in the end of it all, divorce lawyers get involved and everybody needs therapy, and we have people with possible lifelong PTSD. I cannot imagine how people think the risk is worth a few orgasms with strangers. Halloween's Queen says, I feel dirty reading the post in your comment. If my partner asks to open a relationship, something I make clear is a no-go, I'm already checking out. The fact that people will nag their partner is gross, but it tells me we want different things, and I don't see how a monogamous person would want to stay with someone pushing for that or trusted them. And then Puzzle-headed Bar says, agree completely. There's a relationship dynamic called the sunk cost fallacy. I put all this effort and time into this marriage, and I don't want that to go to waste. Basically, I built the house, set it on fire, and I still want to live in it because it was a 3-year build. Nagging is truly psychological abuse. People don't understand that no is a complete sentence. Another dynamic is the fantasy. In fantasies, everyone behaves exactly as we want them because it is our fantasy with imaginary people. Reality hits when humans get involved and don't follow the fantasy script. I think that is so important. Let's say that again. Another dynamic is the fantasy. In fantasies, everyone behaves exactly as we want them to because it is our fantasy with imaginary people. Reality hits when actual humans get involved and don't follow the fantasy script. That is very important, and that's probably what is going on. I hadn't thought about it like that. These dudes envision that things are going to go a certain way. Then reality hits and their expectations don't come to fruition. And then they get disappointed. They get sad. They get really upset. Then they want to close things down. This person says sometimes things cannot be un-effed. And then finally, Naughty Aggie says, what did he think was going to happen? Like, why doesn't he tell the rest of his fantasy? Is it because he was only thinking about what he was going to do and not what she was going to do? A years-long fantasy, and he never once considered that his wife might be more popular than him. They never do. They never do. We see these same stories over and over and over, and they never think that their wife is going to get their backs blown out the way they get their backs blown out. It never even comes across their brain. Join the conversation. Let me know what you think. Don't forget to like, comment, and share. These paternity test requests, these paternity test conversations, they pretty much end the same way that the open marriage nagging ends, like with a divorce. Because what this one implies, what the paternity test, especially if it's your wife, What it implies is that you don't believe that your wife was faithful. Whatever ways you want to put the conversation in between or your thought process in between, at the end of the day, you don't believe that that child is yours. 100% is not 100% thinking that that child is yours. And so you need to squash those thoughts. And so you ask your wife for a paternity test. And what she is going to think, my husband did not trust me. My husband did not think I was faithful. That is going to be her in thought process. So let's look at this one though. She posted in the relationship advice. She says, my husband asked if our son was his and asked for a paternity test. She's 31. He's 36. She says, my husband and I have been together for 10 years. So since she was 21, married for 3 years, we have 2 children together, a 2-year-old daughter and a 7-month-old son, a 2-year-old daughter and a 7-month-old son. Our first child looks a lot like my husband, but our second looks more like me, but you can tell our kids are related and have similar features. My husband recently dropped on me that it's been bothering him that our son has blue eyes. He has brown eyes, I have blue eyes, and how he thinks it's really unlikely for him to have a child with blue eyes as he's Hispanic with no known relatives that have blue eyes. He also is suspicious of the timing of our son's conception, as our second was a complete surprise, but we were only using condoms after I had our first child. He then asked if our son was his and if I mind if he gets a paternity test done. I'm so hurt and just blindsided by this. I haven't cheated on my husband and our son is definitely his. I work from home. I don't have any guy friends. I only go to hang out with friends or to grocery shop or buy things for the kids. I just don't understand why he thinks I would do this as I've never been unfaithful. Has anyone else experienced this? What happened if you have dealt with this? I mentioned marriage counseling to him, so we might try that, but I'm just so confused, sad, and hurt about this. We've been fighting off and on, and it's been stressful having 2 kids so close together, but otherwise, we don't have any problems in the relationship. I'm sorry, she says they don't have any huge problems in the relationship, but I do believe that there must have been something big underlying for him to believe that his wife was unfaithful or possibly cheating on him. Unprotected, mind you. It is so sad to me that people will blow up their marriages over a lack of understanding how biology works. Yes, you can have brown eyes and have a child that has eyes that are not like yours. And just because you have no known relatives with blue eyes doesn't mean that there weren't some people way back then. And her side of the family does count as well. These people are so weird. And, we see the beginnings, but we could also kind of type up what the ending is going to look like. And she's already sad and going through these motions. She's grieving, but she's going to go through the next steps, I'm sure, too. Let's look at a few of these comments. Blue Smurf says, this scenario comes up pretty often here. It usually ends in divorce quite rapidly. The trust cannot be reestablished once broken so dramatically. Star Manga says, it's really stupid as well. The man in these cases is admitting he never spends 10 minutes alone with his kid if he has to ask her for a test instead of just doing it himself. Meow Meow Now says, they have no idea how to do it and just expect their wife to take care of it for them. They'd actually prefer to give their wife another chore than to be smart and do this covertly. Star Mega says, I did say he was really stupid. Honey, I think you're cheating on me. I trust you to take care of proving that you did for me. Love you. Bye. Ludobon says, or he doesn't want to go behind her back for this and speak out of fears and emotions openly. A mother can always be certain that their child is theirs, and I think a lot of women thus cannot comprehend how it feels to be uncertain about such a huge part of your life, even if there's only a 1% chance it could be true. And then Meow Meow says, it always ends in divorce though, so they are risking a lot for a 1%. And then she says, stat please, but she says a 1% feeling. Ticker says, you can call it fears and emotions all you like, but what it boils down to is that he doesn't trust her. If he did trust her, there wouldn't be those fears and emotions. The trust is gone, so the relationship is already broken. May as well just do the test now to save it being court ordered down the line. And to that, Star Mega says he has every right to test his child as a parent. Telling her is just going to cause added drama. This is what I tell my friends if they do have doubts. Don't blow up your relationship unless you need to. I wanted to get to this part. Wishing for a Rainy Day says, ask him who else he's been seeing because he might be projecting his own guilt onto you. Tell him he's broken your trust with his accusations. Get the test. I hope he gives you a genuine apology. And to that, the OP says, I wonder about this too, and I do plan on asking him. I hope he will give a genuine apology too, but the damage is done. What's my password says an apology doesn't cut it. For me, the ask would mean we're done. I give him the test and the divorce papers. And then Buff Hen says I would too. I was looking through her post history to see if she had any other comments, and she posted in the 2 under 2 subreddit. There's so many subreddits out there. She says, struggling with the news, and this was 1 year ago. She says, unplanned second pregnancy. She says, I found out a little while ago that I'm pregnant again. 9 months postpartum. I'm really struggling with the idea and I feel so guilty that I don't feel excited like I did for my first pregnancy. I just feel scared and so sad because this wasn't planned and I wanted more time with just the 3 of us, my husband, my daughter, and I. I was just getting adjusted to life as a first-time mom and now I just don't know how to feel. Did anyone struggle with this or experience a similar situation? I also feel awful because my milk supply is declining and I'm not sure if we'll make it a year breastfeeding, which really makes me sad. So seeing this and seeing that this was unplanned and everything and what she's going through, she got to the other side. She had the baby. She's 7 months in and he asked this question. I can just imagine how she's feeling about things. Lily Loves Reddit's asked 8 days ago, any updates? I'm going through this now. And to that, the OP says, so it was very rough when we got home. I would say the first 2 months were a lot. It's a lot better now that my second is almost 7 months old now. My kids love playing together now, and it's so wonderful to see the love between them already. I'm glad we had him, my second, and we have readjusted well now. Overall, I would say it gets better, but I'm not going to lie. It is very hard in the beginning. Hang in there, though. So I just wanted to show that at first she was reluctant, but now she's adjusted. And then boom, as soon as she gets adjusted, he pops this type of question out on her. Okay, back to the comments on the paternity test one. Because like I said, I was just looking through her comments and came across this one. So Chair says, just get the paternity test. I don't see why it's that big of a deal. If you aren't cheating, you have nothing to hide. And to that, the OP says, I told him to get it done if that's what he wants to do. I don't have an issue with it as there's nothing to hide. I can still think it's hurtful though. Maylee Sunrise says, so every time he accuses you of something ridiculous, the onus is on you to prove your innocence. I'll say it again, it's not about doing the test, but what it represents. Once it comes back, the child is his. The person that was able to accuse you of such a thing will not disappear. He's still the same guy that could even conceive the idea that you cheated. Just because the child is not his clone, but has features that come from checks notes, you, and you will not go back to feeling safe and trusted or trusting. You will not forget. This will build resentment and distrust. And I wanted to get to that. This will build resentment and distrust. After this type of question is asked, it's going to always be nagging in the back of her brain, regardless of if she sticks and stays right now or leaves later. Y'all let me know what you think about this one. Join the conversation, like, comment, and share. This was posted in the aging subreddit. I was tagged in this. It's very interesting to see how so many people are seeing the exact same things and commenting on it. Why are fewer single women dating as they get older? And what would make it feel worth it again? And so then the tag is life and living. People are noticing across the board. This is being talked about in the 4B subreddits, the child-free subreddits. It's talked about in the dating subreddits, the relationship advice subreddits. So many women are opting out. The men are sitting up here like looking around and the women are like, I'm good. I'm uninterested because of what we have been talking about For a while now, we've been talking about this, and I've said this before. I believe that there are more men looking for a wife and children and dating than women. And even in that poll that we just discussed, and I will discuss it a little bit more later, that there are more men that are looking for marriage and dating, as this poll is saying, than women. For women, it's way down the line. Anyways, let's look at this post. This says, I read an article recently that said only about 38% of single women in the United States are actively dating. One of the reasons it mentioned was man keeping, where the women end up carrying most of the emotional labor in relationships. It made me wonder how this connects with aging. As we get older, priorities shift, patience runs thinner, and some people feel less willing to invest energy in something that doesn't give back equally. For those of you who are single later in life, let's say late 30s, early 40s, and 50s, have you noticed this trend in yourself or friends? Do you think dating feels more draining with age, or is it simply that people's standards change? And maybe the bigger question is, what would actually need to change for dating to feel worth it again in midlife and beyond? Curious to hear your perspectives, both from those still dating and those who have chosen to step away. Complex Hope makes it very clear. This is who tagged me in, saying, it's not a big secret. Women are talking about this openly. It's because of men. Men are exhausting. They expect women to be their living maid, mommy, sex doll, therapist. We're doing all the physical, mental, and emotional labor, and most men don't care that we're doing everything. They don't care how that affects us. They feel entitled to that labor. Women are tired of being a mommy to grown-ass men who aren't giving anything in return. Spend 1 minute on any women's sub. We are openly talking about the reasons we're not interested in dating. And that's the thing. Women are openly speaking about this. It is everywhere. And I will say these things, like men will be talking about dating and how they are opting out. And I'll be like, yeah, I'm seeing women are opting out. So it's a win-win. And they're not hearing any of the reasons. I do think that by them talking about dating, that they feel like they're going to shame women into wanting to come back into the dating world. But I do believe that they have pushed women way too far, because they are simply saying men are saying things like women want 666, 6 figures, 6 feet tall, and y'all fill in the other 6. I say six pairs of shoes. And then I'll be like, that is not what women want. Women want mutual support, emotional intelligence. They want participation in the home and with chores and that kind of thing. And they're like, I was like, okay, y'all don't listen. The reason why there are fewer women wanting to date is because they don't listen to women and what women are asking for in relationships. And that's pretty much it. All right, let's look at a few of these comments. Artistic Musician says, I think it's both. Our standards change and we're drained. In my late 30s now, I was chronically dating or in relationships until my last, which drained me to the point of deciding to stay single for the 4 years since. Now, listen to this part. A potential partner would have to compete with my peace and contentment and the calm home I don't want filled with tension or drama, or with someone breathing in my face while I sleep. I can do what I want with no compromising or keeping the peace, nor watching dumb movies and sharing my snacks. So that is what dudes are competing with. Some dudes think that they're just out, that these women are just out here just dating all these men and eating free meals. They keep thinking that women are just out here dating for free meals and that's it. These women are just buying their own meals and staying home. Kiva says, you can't put a price on the peace of solitude. Snarky Witch says, apparently $3,200 was the price of my peace. My ex-husband made me pay him for our dog. It's BS, but he got him out of my life. Mountain Moose says this, divorced from my 20-year marriage, doing my own work while doing most of his work. We shared a business in our home, was killing me because he changed to do only what he wanted to do. Now, I live in a 900 square foot sweet house bordered on 2 sides by federal lands in a mountain town with peace and solitude. I'll never give up. Asleep says, I need this as a poster. Semi-practical you says, not quite, but you can buy a little piece of it in the form of Proud Spear Manor for $25,000 gold. Human Contract says this: I got burned in two separate situationships back to back from 36 to 39. Neither dude wanted commitment, but they wanted kids, exclusivity, and condomless sex. Stop dating these last years behind because I'm tired. Potato Process says, how did they square kids and exclusivity with no commitment? Don't those sort of imply commitment? And then Lois Grand says, not necessarily. Some want kids but don't want to help support them or do anything. They just want to make the babies, anchor the woman down, and expect her to do everything for the child. And they don't even want to financially support these children. They just think that they get to just make the kids and then the woman got it. Potato Process says, in that case, I would suggest an employment contract for child rearing, not a relationship. Never mind the well-being of the kids, of course, who grow up without a dad because he wants nothing to do with them. The Nice Marmot says, the bar for men is in hell. I just came from reading a post where a woman was talking about ending a 9-year relationship with a great guy who didn't mistreat her. Imagine if that's the bar for dating a woman. She didn't throw things at me, steal my money, or cheat on me. What a dreamy partner. She says, I'm happily remarried and celebrating my 15-year anniversary today with my unicorn of a husband who helps without asking, is generous, kind, and truly looks to be a partner. But marriage number one was that very basic there, but not overtly abusive garbage I was just reading about. Single is 100% better than that. Thank goodness my daughter is saying she'd be open to marriage if someone worthwhile comes along, but she is not putting getting married as a top priority. Lois says, happy anniversary. The Quintessence of Dust says, literally right around the time I hit 30, I broke off my 2-year engagement after discovering my fiance had been stealing money from me for about a year. And I just thought, F it. Why have I been wasting the past decade trying to find the one to build a life with? I built a fine life all by myself. So I date, I let men romance me. I'm upfront about where I'm at. It's fun to go out, have a great meal, attend a concert or a play or whatever, tumble in the bed with someone. But I'm not actively searching for a partner because he would have to be a mother effing unicorn for me to entangle myself and my future with him. Others are dark continents, and all we ever glimpse are their shores. The deep and distant wilds of them are basically impenetrable. All right, y'all, I'm going to end it there. Fewer women are seeking out dating and marriage and kids and all of that. And I do believe, I know I've said this before. Last year when we were talking about it, people did not think that women would opt out of dating. But now we're seeing more and more women saying that they are just done. We're seeing women that were formerly married. They're like, I'm done. I put in my time. I'm done with this. Women are giving up on dating. And like I said, we have these conversations all the time. Y'all know to chime in. Leave your comments. Let me know what you think. Like, comment, and share.
Just here to report that I am still straight. Although I let a man pay for my dinner, I technically didn't break my gay sobriety. He wanted some action, but he left without any satisfaction. So now I'm officially 38 days clean, and I have no plans of going back to my homosexual routine.